FM. This is Connected, episode 17. This week's episode of Connected is brought to you by Iconic, the ultimate tribute to Apple innovation and design. Harry's, an exceptional shave at a fraction of the price, and IceNet menus, an advanced system monitor for your Mac's menu bar. My name is Mike Hurley, and I am joined, as I always am, by Mr. Federico Viticci. Hi, Federico.
Hello, Mike. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Federico, and good evening to you, Stephen Hackett, as well.
Hey, boys, what's up?
How are you?
A little sick.
I thought I would just allow you to demo that so people didn't think that your voice had changed.
No, I'm here with my friends, and I'm ready to talk about some things. And after this, I'm going to go sleep for like 36 hours. It's great.
I'm not sure that's like the right amount of sleep that you're supposed to get. I'm pretty sure the Apple Health app cannot track that much sleep.
I don't think it can track anything very well.
No, they fixed it. In fact, I was looking on Twitter today. There's a new iOS 8.2 beta. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm just starting up with a quick topic. Do you mind?
No.
So there's a new iOS 8.2 beta, and they added some new HealthKit stuff. I think like a new gender option. It's really a welcome change. Yeah.
Good.
Cool.
I don't know. Steven mentioning sleep made me think of HealthKit. It's been a while since we talked about it.
What if I mention Rage? Do you also think about HealthKit?
No.
Kind of the same thing.
I think about iCloud Drive, but that's another topic.
Can HealthKit monitor your anger towards HealthKit?
Well, it can monitor your heart pressure. I think blood pressure.
Yeah.
Heart pressure.
Heart pressure sounds scary.
If I have heart pressure, I need to know.
Yeah, you probably need a physician.
Yeah. Federico, you make my heart pressure go up.
I know. That's always a problem.
I'm so excited for the follow-up. So, sent in by stupidly awesome friend of the show, Alan, which I agreed I would call him for sending this in. Evernote wrote a blog post about context, and there was a couple of points. Now, I will read them, and then I will talk about them. So, is this advertising? Is one of the questions in their frequently asked questions document. No, Evernote does not get paid based on the number of views or clicks. We have no financial incentive to show any articles or other content. We only show things that we think are useful to our users. We don't share user account information with our partners. And we allow users to determine which context sources they want to see or turn this feature off completely. How does Evernote make money from context? Evernote makes money by providing products and features end users are happy for. We think context is a powerful feature that will help people do their best, most informed work. It's one of several features that people enjoy when they sign up for Evernote Premium or Evernote Business. Obviously, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. We had a big discussion about Evernote Context, and I said that we had no proof that they were paid for putting it in there. You guys potentially believed that they were paid. This article does kind of dance around a little bit, so like we can't be 100% sure. However, we do.
They don't get paid based on number of views or clicks.
We have no financial incentive to show any articles or other content, which kind of, that one sounds better than the first. If they would have just said that, we have no financial incentive to show any articles or other content, I would have felt better about it. It does still seem a bit weird. However, I said, show me the proof. This is all the proof we have right now, is them saying that they do not get paid for it. So I will chalk this up as a win for me. And then wait for the
You're
follow-up.
right, and we were wrong. So
when I'm
wrong,
speak for me.
I am gonna say that I'm when I'm wrong, I'm gonna say that I'm wrong. So you were right, Mike.
Thanks.
This is, I guess, good news. Just 2 points, if you allow me.
Of course.
The first one is that I still think it's not really useful.
I agree with that.
Not in this first version. It's pretty much useless for me. Like I said, I would really like the ability to at least have some kind of control over the sources. Not just, I know that you can turn it off or select specific sources. I would just like to add any RSS feed. The second point, I don't like that Evernote is. I told the app to turn off the feature, and it got automatically turned on again.
No, that's
with
bad.
Evernote displaying a message. So that was really it's not the right thing to do. And I know for sure, I'm 100% sure that I turned off the feature, and today it was turned on again, and I'm getting basically once a day. I'm getting messages in the Evernote app for iOS to try the new work chat,
Oh, no,
to
that's
try
driving
the
me
new
crazy.
sharing features. And every time I dismiss these messages, and I keep getting these messages in the inbox when I'm opening search, and I don't know why they got so aggressive to tell me about all these features. I mean, they should at least look at my account and they can tell. I've been using Evernote since 2009. I have a lot of notes in Evernote. I don't need tips,
Yeah.
especially every day. So, yeah, hopefully that they will get better at managing
Yeah.
these sort of messages.
Yeah, the work chat thing's driving me crazy.
It definitely still
you
feels
find it useful?
misguided.
You find it useful, guys?
I've never used work chat. I don't even know how to or why I would. I just talk to people outside of Evernote. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think part of our complaint is still valid. It does, like the sentence about it's one of several features that people enjoy when they sign up for premium or business. Like, it still seems misguided. And to y'all's point, maybe not all that useful unless they give it some more options. And so it might not be as creepy as we had thought, but I think it still is like a warning sign that Evernote's vision, I guess, for their product and what they provide their users is not in line with ours. And, it's something that I use and rely on every day. That makes me a little bit worried. So
Yeah, I shared the same feeling. I was just thinking about this for like the past couple of days. The fact that there's no real alternative to Evernote, at least for the stuff that I want to do, like rich notes with images and documents inside the notes, the ability to clip content from Safari, the ability to append rich text, so no plain text, to append rich text to the bottom of an existing note. Like all these features that I struggle to find a good alternative that is as popular and supported as Evernote. So when they do this kind of stuff, it kind of makes me sad because I know that I need to stick with it. And yeah, basically I'm a little sad, but also I'm not like super sad because I trust Evernote to I know there's people there who genuinely care. So I'm optimistic this time. I want to be more optimistic, guys, on this show.
Okay.
I feel like lately I've been
Debbie Downer.
yeah.
yeah, we got called that on Twitter.
Uh-huh. And there's that iTunes review, right?
Yeah, there's the one iTunes review.
We
who
need
says
to
it's
be
an
happier.
hour of moaning.
We need to be so from today on only happy topics. Okay.
Well, then you're not gonna like topic one.
Only happy topics. Steven.
well, then thanks so much for listening to this week's episode.
Yeah. So we had some follow up from Jimmy on Twitter, where he tried looking at the show notes on his Nintendo Wii, and it didn't go very well. I would like to point out, before you guys talk about video games for half an hour, how hilariously ridiculous the Wii interface looks in this picture. Like, look at those buttons. What is happening here?
If they weren't that
Anyways.
big, how would you see them? It's a TV. Come on.
Well, it doesn't have to be like
Yeah, it does.
ugly.
Oh, well,
So,
ugly's a difference between it's different to big.
So how's the Wii browser? I imagine it's pretty terrible.
I have a story, but if Mike wants to share his thoughts, I'll let Mike go first.
I've never used the Wii browser.
Never.
Never.
You never had a Wii.
Yeah, I just never used the browser.
Why?
Why?
I mean, not even out of curiosity.
Not that I can remember. Maybe I did, but I don't remember.
No, you did. I'm pretty sure you did. Come on.
Were you watching?
It was.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you did.
It's
you
like
know?
the browser on your
I-
Kindle. You have one, but it doesn't mean you should use it.
So I have a story about the Wii browser. It's basically how I started using YouTube. Like my first experience with YouTube was on the Wii browser. I think it was back in 2007. I don't know when YouTube launched. Was it 2005 or 2006? I cannot remember. So after high school, I started going to university, or as Americans call it, to college, I guess. And in my brief experience there, like 4 months, I shared this apartment with other friends, and we were not exactly computer savvy back then. Like we were, like it was really different back then. We all had Nokia phones. We didn't have smartphones. There was no concept of the like apps yet. Because the iPhone was just, it just came out in the US. It wasn't really popular in Italy. So we had dumb phones, and we had computers, of course. But like, pretty sure my friends only used them for like music and photos. So we wanted to go. We wanted, for some reason, I don't know why, we wanted to go to YouTube one night, and we wanted to have YouTube on a big screen. And you can understand this was really like a new experience for us, because we were like, I'm pretty sure only two of us, we were six people. Only two of us knew what YouTube was. So we used the Wii browser to put YouTube on the TV screen. And I remember we were really impressed by the fact that you could stream all these videos.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds crazy that, because YouTube is now as obvious as Google search, right? To me, I mean, it's like, when you think of the web, you think of Google, Gmail, YouTube, this kind of stuff. And my first experience with this, with YouTube was on the Wii browser, which was terrible, really, really terrible, as the screenshots suggest. And it's just a little memory that I have when I think of the Wii browser, which I think was based on Opera, by the way, because Nintendo has always done stuff with the Opera browser.
Yeah, because they had the Opera DS
on the DS, and I'm pretty sure the Wii was also Opera based, I guess, with a custom interface, of course, because Nintendo really wanted to do the large buttons that you could activate with you could point the Wiimote at the buttons in the browser, and I'm pretty sure I remember it would recognize the pointer from the Wii remote. Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah,
but also terrible and kind of cool, like a nice demo for like 20 minutes, and that's it.
Stephen, what's next in our follow-up?
So, friend of the internet, Greg Pierce, who we're going to get to a little bit later, I think, has a new ringtone, and it is us. It was, I guess, you put it in the beginning of the show, didn't you? All of us groaning when I said "today widgets." So Greg's had a hard time, and I'm glad that we can help him through this time of pain and suffering. And he has a link to the MP3 if you want to make it your ringtone. If you want to hear us be sad all the time.
Whenever your phone rings.
I should make it the sound effect when Matt Alexander sends me a text message. Just like...
I always wanted to have a text ringtone with Mike just saying "superb" with his accent.
Oh, man.
Would you like me to give you a clear clip here so you can cut it out?
Please. Yes.
Okay. Superb. There
See, I'm just going to use my MP3 editing app of choice on my iPad. I'm guessing there must be one.
Well, you can use GarageBand to actually make ringtones.
Okay. Yeah, I can use GarageBand.
That's a mic tip right there.
That's a
done.
No, you cannot use tips. You gotta have another brand.
Okay, Mike Posit.
Stop.
Okay, I am fine with that. Okay.
We spoke last week about the idea of an ideal social network, and we ended up talking a lot about app.net and sort of what was good about it. And there was a lot of good in that app.net little moment of time. But one that I didn't think about until the other day was Path. And, we'll get to some of it in a second, but, Path it's app-based. I don't know if they have a web interface you can do much with. And it's sort of like a combination of like Foursquare. You can check in places. You can edit and post photos, sort of like Instagram. You can send direct messages. They've kind of broken it off to a separate app like Facebook and Facebook Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
And all this kind of gets built into a timeline. So I can scroll back and I can see places, like where Mike checked in a coffee shop. I can see Federico's picture of his coffee. I can see, Matt Alexander, a picture of a mannequin. It kind of is all like one mashed up timeline. And Path, the app, at least I re-downloaded it this week and logged in. I've been playing with it. The app is really nice, and I think those guys do a really good job at like the experience of using the network, which is a big deal. And talking with Twitter apps versus API and stuff. Path, like it is, everything's an app. You can't go out and like build your own Path app. But I think what hurt Path, they've kind of got a little bit of a spotted past. There's 2 links in the show notes about them kind of doing some creepy things with address book information, and I think that's all in the past. I couldn't find anything recent, but I think it hurt their reputation, at least amongst people like us who, are going to be sort of more critical of things like that.
Well, it also started off as a different type of social network as well. It had the Dunbar number, 150 people restriction on the amount of people that could be in your
I'd forgotten
contacts.
about that. Is that still in place?
No, they've lifted that now.
I also think you gotta have 2 phones to use Path.
I did hear that actually. I think now it's you have one phone which has like the main sort of timeline, and you have another phone which has the
Talk.
DM app, the Talk app, and I think you use one in the daytime, one in the nighttime, but I can't remember how that works.
Yeah. So you're always on the never on the defense. Yeah,
always on the offense. Yeah,
that's right. Mm-hmm. So you can find those links in the show notes. Federico, if someone were interested in the show notes, where could they acquire them?
Are you sure you want to do this?
I'm always sure.
Le show notes le potete trovare usando il vostro browser. Andate sul web e digitate www.relay.fm/live e lì troverete la diretta. Ma non dovete andare lì, dovete andare su relay.fm/connected/17, che è il numero della puntata, e lì troverete tutte le show notes con tutti i link, con tutte le cose che dicono Mike e Steven, che in questo momento non stanno capendo quello che sto dicendo, e quindi va bene così. Le trovate lì.
Thanks.
Is this okay?
Oh, no, thank you. I think that's added a layer of understanding for people that may not have got it before.
Yeah, I want to take connected. I want to take connected international.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
This week's episode of Connected, I'm doing this part in English, is brought to you by iStat Menus from Django. iStat Menus is an advanced system monitor for your Mac's menu bar. It lets you keep an eye on pretty much every aspect of your Mac's hardware, including CPU, GPU, memory, disk usage, and activity, networking, battery, temperatures, fans, and oh so much more. The new iStat Menus 5 supports Yosemite's dark menu bar, as well as many new Yosemite and Maverick specific features like memory pressure, like heart pressure, but for your memory, and compressed memory. iStat Menus also features a new time menu intended to replace the standard OS X time menu bar item. It includes loads of info, including a calendar events, sunrise, sunset, and world clock for over 120,000 cities. This is one of the main reasons that I love and use iStat Menus, as I can keep it all in my menu bar. I'm able to enter in the cities of for my co-hosts, so I can see them all and see where they are in their day, as well as enable multiple calendars so I can keep a check on the show broadcasting times all in one place. In this little guy called Federico Vitici's review of iStat Menus, he says, "It's always there in my Mac's menu bar, and it's one of my must-have apps that I mention every year." You can't argue with Federico. Apparently he knows what he's talking about, and surely you must trust his opinion by now. Federico, would you have anything you'd like to add about iStat Menus 5?
It's really I think that the first app that I install on every year when I download a new version of OS X, Django, they usually have an updated version of iStat Menus. So for the past 4 years, I've always found a new version of iStat Menus for a new version of OS X. I use it for I have 2 main reasons. One is the battery menu they have, and the other is the custom clock menu. And I really, really like the clock menu because I need to know quickly time zones for all the people that I work with, like you guys and the Mac Stories team. So iStat Menus lets you customize the clock, the system clock. It lets you put on a custom, like a drop down, and you can have a calendar, you can have your calendar events, you can have time zones, which is awesome for me, and you don't have to have 12 icons for all this stuff. It's just one icon and you click the icon and there's a menu. There's a bunch of other things, but really just for the battery and the menu and the clock menu, for me, it's absolutely worth it. And you can go crazy with the CPU, all the other kinds of stuff that I don't understand, but it's really, really nice. Yeah.
Stephen, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a tool that even as someone who is a power user of OS 10, it puts really nice system information just a glance away. And so I don't have to run Activity Monitor. If I'm concerned about something, I can just look up in the menu bar. And it's great. You should check it out.
If you do want to check it out, you want to head over to Bojangles right now, bojangles.com. This is something you should definitely have installed. You can get a 14-day free trial of iStep Menus 5 right now. And when you decide to buy, listeners of this show can get a huge 25% off by using the coupon code CONNECTED. Thank you so much to Bojangles for supporting this show and Relay FM. So what's up on the docket today?
I'm not going to read the topic name because it's obscene. But there's kind of a list of links at this point in the show notes about the App Store. And Marco block quoted this post from a developer of Launcher, which is this nice little app that Apple ended up rejecting. And so basically what these developers were told is that their app was in uncharted territory, and that Apple felt they needed to make an example of it so other developers would not follow them on this new path of functionality. So basically making an example out of a popular app to dissuade other developers from doing things that are sort of, not clearly defined within the rules of the App Store, which, of course, is a ridiculous thing to say to a developer and bad for the ecosystem. I'm sure we will get into that. And if you look over the last month or so, you had Peacock, you have Drafts, which has been told, Greg's been told all sorts of crazy things about his Today widget. And, we have widgets like Evernote, which we were talking about earlier. They have a Today widget where you can go in and launch the app and do some things. And that is seemingly against the rules if Drafts can't do it. And there's a lot of weird, someone in the chat room is calling un-Apple-like things kind of going on around this. And if this is true, then it's really pretty unseemly.
Well,
Market calls it disgraceful.
Yeah, it depends what you consider as un-Apple, though, right? I mean, because it's heavily controlling, which is not un-Apple. It's not, it's definitely the Apple that we have known. I think that maybe we all expected it to be a different Apple now, but it doesn't look like that's the case.
It's just, I get what you're saying where, Apple is controlling the thing, and Apple has, historically in the App Store, there's been gray area and they go back and forth and, they allow certain things for a time and then it gets out of hand and they reel it back. And it just seems like maybe it's because iOS 8 opens up all these new powerful options, but it seems like it's getting sort of more out of hand currently than it has in the past.
I don't know, guys. I've been thinking about this, especially the issue with Panic and Transmit and uploading files to iCloud Drive. So basically, Apple told that Transmit couldn't upload files downloaded from outside the app to iCloud Drive, that only files created inside Transmit can be uploaded to and saved to iCloud Drive. So, what's the motivation here? What's the problem? Because I know that Apple is controlling, and that's okay. We're pretty much used to that at this point, and I know that also, there are gray areas in the App Store. And sometimes you launch a new technology and you don't know what people are going to do with it. So you got to basically judge on a case-by-case basis sometimes. So in this specific case because we talked about the widgets before and we theorized that Apple doesn't want shortcuts to replicate the home screen and all that kind of stuff. Now, in this case, what's the problem? The problem is that Apple doesn't want you to save any kind of file to iCloud Drive. That is exactly the opposite of the marketing message on the iCloud Drive website, which specifically says any kind of file on any device. So if Apple didn't think of the possibility of saving any file to iCloud Drive on iOS, that seems pretty much absurd, because you can't save any kind of file to iCloud Drive on the Mac. You can just use drag and drop.
Yep.
So it appears to me that the only possible explanation is that there's no, like there was an app reviewer at Apple. There are two different teams, app review and app store editorial. And this guy, I guess, stumbled across this feature and said, no, you cannot download files from servers and FTP stuff. This stuff seems scary, and you cannot upload this kind of files to iCloud Drive. Because I'm saying that the issue here is a communication problem, because there's no technical or ideological explanation for this kind of feature being removed. So, in my opinion, and this is also the case with widgets, with pcalc, with drafts, with launcher. No, maybe not with launcher, because I can kind of understand that. But there's an issue with communication between app review, between the App Store editorial team, because you cannot possibly approve an app, request marketing material, promote an app on Twitter, on the App Store, on Facebook, on all these different channels. So you're putting your official Apple stamp of approval on an app, and then you ask the developer to remove features from it. Because if you're unhappy with some features, you don't promote the app entirely, especially when the app shows screenshots of those features. So I think there's a communication problem between people here. I don't know the extent. And that's what I want to discuss with you guys. I don't know the extent of this issue, because maybe it's just a small communication problem, right? Because if, especially on Twitter this week, a lot of people are talking about this latest rejections, and everybody's going like, oh, there's a major problem at Apple, and Apple is imploding, and we need to destroy app review and rebuild it from the ground up. I don't know the extent of this issue, and probably nobody outside of Apple knows.
Well, it seems to be, we have always had these problems in the past. We spoke about it last week. You can go back in history and find them. But right now, it seems like there is more of this going on than ever. And I don't think it's just a case of, we have a new thing. We have some new things. Extensions of widgets are new. Yes, but every version of iOS brings with it some new thing, right? Whether it was like the multitasking stuff or, I don't know, the whole new design language and things like that. Like, there are always new ways and new things to reject people over, but it seems like for some reason it's happening more now. And the main problem isn't that apps are being rejected. They're being rejected after already being accepted, or they're being like, developers are just being contacted, like, you've got 72 hours to change your app, we're pulling it from the store. Like, and that's happening more and more. And as we said it last week, like, the other problem being that it's the clearly bad communication between editorial and review. Like, because a lot of the apps that are being pulled right now are high profile. They're so high profile that Apple agrees and features them. Like Greg Pierce, the developer of Drafts, so he has had another rejection after submitting a fix which simplified the widget, like the notifications of the widget, saying that now he's been rejected because his widget doesn't do enough.
That's messed up. Come on.
So now, like, he's just said he's pulling it. Like, there's not going to be a widget anymore, which is bad for Apple.
Yeah, especially, you see why it's more prone to happen with like new features. But Apple needs developers to be on board with these new tools in iOS 8, and for someone, Drafts is a big app to a lot of people. It's not, it's not like Evernote, but it's popular in its certain crowd. It's not like, if I was a developer looking at this, like thinking about adding a Today widget, I would think seriously about it before diving into anything remotely like near the edge case. Just in case, like, you put hours and time and money into this, and then Apple says, nope, too bad.
I think. Sorry, go on, Stephen.
I said to back up a second though, like talking about the app review team versus editorial in the App Store. It was on someone's podcast this week. Somebody made the point of like, app review is a very quick process. Like, it's not like these people are spending hours with your app; they're spending minutes with it, and so it's possible that the stuff is getting in the App Store that would not be approved if Apple was paying closer attention, and then it's out there, and then they're like, "Oh no, that slipped through, pull it back," and it. I'm not saying burn app review to the ground like some people are, but I do think there is a case to be made that maybe more time needs to be spent with these things, and like it is better. I would think, not being a developer, but I would think it would be better to be rejected off the bat than have a feature out there and your users getting used to it, and then that feature being pulled. That seems like a worse situation, not only for the developer but for Apple itself.
So, one thing that I'm thinking about with this, especially if I was a developer and looking at the types of things that are having problems at the moment, I would not. Because of this, I would not want to be developing for the watch right now, which I think is more of a significant issue for Apple because they're already asking a big thing of developers. Can you develop some stuff considering you haven't got a device to test it on? So we have some things to give out on day one. But a lot of the things that are having problems right now are extensions and widgets in App Review, and that is like exactly what the watch is based on. And if you're saying that it's complex, like you're having too many buttons, too much information, like in what's already there, like it's even worse when it comes to the watch.
But on the flip side of that coin, though, Apple has been, from my understanding, pretty clear in the documentation of what will be allowed on the watch. More clear than what they have said for iOS itself. And the watch just does a lot less. There's less opportunity for developers to kind of go crazy. But I get what you're saying, and I definitely like looking at, like, it's very clear now, right, that extensions in iOS 8 were built with the watch in mind. Like it is a little, it gives me a little pause to think about, like what if this stuff just isn't there on day one for the watch the way it could have been otherwise? Like that's not good for Apple's new, I'm sure what Tim Cook would call their flagship product right now. Like they have a ton of energy and money and like excitement, like Tim Cook fist pumping gif of the watch, and they need people on board.
James Thompson in the chat room, the developer of Peacock, he actually did say this a moment ago that he is concerned about the watch, like that he's looking to do something for it for Peacock. He said, but who knows what will be allowed. So he's considering it, but it is like a fear point at the moment because it feels like that. I'm paraphrasing for him now. Like it feels like that there is a lot of uncertainty around a lot of these things. So it's it's a peculiar time. I mean, I've seen people suggesting that potentially the hammer's coming down on these things now because of the watch, right? So they don't want people getting away with themselves over the widgets. But it seems like it just seems like the communication that was supposed to inherently have been there with joining the teams up is not there.
It's just the inconsistency,
Yeah, it's inconsistent.
Because they first approve and then they reject, and then while they are rejecting some apps or they're going after some developer, at the very same time they are approving other apps that either do the same thing or do even worse, depending on whether you think it's worse or better. It's just they don't have a defined set of rules, because if they only said, look, it's in this web page, you can find all our rules and they are written down in this page and you can read them and whatever, we don't care, these are the rules. It's just that you are writing software against a platform with no defined rules at this point. And what I wanted to ask you guys is, does it even make sense to have rules that go into the specifics at this point? Because iOS is not so, like when the App Store review guidelines were first published, iOS was a relatively simple platform, right? I mean, iOS apps couldn't be as complex and as potentially, powerful as they are today with iOS 8. Does it even make sense to have rules organized in categories and sections that go into the specifics, such as, you can create widgets with buttons, but only if the buttons take you to a section of an app? I'm saying it's so there are so many ramifications with iOS today that making rules and writing down the rules is it's like writing the constitution of a country. You
Yeah.
cannot go into every specific, every
no.
possible case.
Of course not. But it feels like if you're going to have, I assume, a set of rules internally that we don't see, that maybe they need to
You
try
gotta
and
say those.
yeah, because you'd expect that there are some guidelines to these rejections, right? You'd like to think that a rejection needs to have a guideline cited. And if the guidelines, if they're just using the same guidelines that everybody else sees, we already know that they're not clear enough in some instances. So maybe there needs to be more rewriting. And I think just fundamentally, if you're in a situation where you have a gatekeeper and you have people putting time and money into creating something for the gatekeeper to say yes or no, I think you need to have more. It doesn't need to be rules, but just stronger guidelines. I think there needs to be stronger guidelines than the ones that currently exist. Because if things are getting rejected at a high rate, then, I mean, I don't know what those rates are, right? I mean, and as well, like you see things that should be rejected but are in the store. It feels like there needs to be stronger guidelines. Like in some instances, Apple aren't enforcing the guidelines strong enough, which is really peculiar, right? Because you see these junk apps in the App Store and you wonder how they ever get there. Like you look at the whole Flappy Bird thing, like 95% of the apps that were in the App Store at that point in time shouldn't have been there. Like, so you just wonder, like, what is the right thing and the wrong thing? Like, I agree with you. Do you want to write out 1 million rules? No, probably not, because it makes it worse, not better. But if there is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people that are unsure about what's going on, maybe in certain areas there needs to be more rules or more communication in a public forum so people can see the conversations that occur, so they can understand, like, from other people. Like, there should be a developer forum where these questions can be asked and answered openly.
There should be a developer blog, like they're doing with Swift. They have a blog now.
Yeah,
And
I think just keep it in the developer center, though. You know.
Yeah, some kind of public forum to discuss this kind of stuff. And also, I think the basic problem, there should be at least better communication with the people that pick apps for editorial promotions and the people who approve apps, because they what it seems like from the outside is that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and that's bad, of course. But also, my last question for you is: does this matter for normal people? Because we're so upset about Transmit losing a feature, which is a button really, and Drafts losing the widget, and pcalc going through all this stuff. But is Apple doing this because they know that people outside of our circle don't care? Like they're somehow justified to do this kind of stuff because they know that it doesn't reach my mother or my father or my friends.
But it depends on the app. Like,
And I don't know if that's so much about audience as it is just that Apple's in
selling
charge.
iPhones.
Well, it's that it's Apple's hardware, it's Apple's platform, and maybe they believe, to play devil's advocate, that they can make some developers upset, that they can push around their weight because they own the whole stack, right? The developers are completely dependent on Apple for APIs, for store, for distribution, for payment. And maybe Apple's like, you know what, we're going to do what we want to do. And so be it.
You gotta wonder if it's really true when the blog post from the guy that you mentioned before, when we need to figure out how to pronounce his name. He says that basically App Review knows when they want to make a big get into the news basically with popular with rejections of popular apps. You gotta wonder if that's really true or not. If it's not true, when you do see an app like pcalc, from a developer with more than 20 years of experience, when you get that kind of app, don't you think that maybe you want to talk to a manager or to a supervisor? I mean, if you don't want to get into the tech blogs talking about this rejection, why don't you? How is it possible that it gets to this point? So the argument that Apple wants this kind of reaction, it's not completely absurd, but also it's so strange if it's true. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely problematic, and I mean, I really think that so much of it is that the store is just really big and these teams aren't big enough and there's not, to
Oh
your
yeah.
point, not enough internal communication. The tragedy is that like good, hardworking men and women get caught like in that crossfire of having their work, rejected or say, hey, you got to undo all this or you're going to be in trouble. But, people outside of our community don't see it because they're not using these apps at the cutting edge. Like the Facebook app is not going to get rejected.
You know how better communication would be possible within Apple with stuff like the drafts widget. It would really simplify the act of emailing people
You're
and
just
saving
having
notes.
building workflows for Apple employees now.
That should be that's a possible idea, you see. Making workflows for big companies.
Yeah, you could be a workflow guru.
Consultant.
Ninja.
A workflow ninja. Yeah, I was just saying ninja. Thanks, Steven.
Yeah.
We don't know. That's the conclusion, right? We don't know. So
Yeah. It's
we are sad again. This is not possible. Let's talk about something happy. What do we have about happiness?
This week's episode of Connected is brought to you by Harrys.com. In case you hadn't already noticed, it's the holiday season, and that means it's gift buying time. We all know what it can be like at this time of year. There's hundreds of people to buy gifts for and little time to actually go out and look for things. If you're looking for a cool gift to tell somebody to buy this year, or you're stuck finding something to buy for someone important in your life, you should look no further than Harry's. Harry's Winter Winston set is only $30 for a sleek chrome razor, 3 high-quality blades, their amazing foaming shave gel or shaving cream. It's already wrapped by them, and shipping is always free. No, not 3, it's free. It's totally free with an F. This is the set that I have myself. I love it. I love the chrome handle. I think it looks super nice. Makes me feel like a grown-up when I use it to shave. And their stuff feels really good on my skin. Harry's blades are really high quality. I love the foaming shave gel. It gets a real good lava going. I'm a big fan. You can get $5 off this set by using the code ConnectedHoliday, all one word. But this is a special holiday offer. Harry's want to give all of you guys this $5 off. Even the awesome ones amongst you who are already Harry's customers can take advantage of this. You can get the razor, 3 quality blades, and a tube of their foaming shave gel or shave cream for just $25. Harry's is helping you to avoid the lines at the mall. You don't have to worry about pushing and shoving a big crowds if you want to buy a gift, but maybe you want it for yourself as well, and you could leave it at your folks' house when you're there for the holidays, and then you always have a great Harry's shave waiting for you whenever you visit. This is an awesome deal from an awesome company. Harry's was started by 2 guys passionate about creating a better shaving experience for all men, and they do this. Harry's is also a company that gives back. They donate 1% of sales and volunteer 1% of all employees' time with their community partner City Year. So when you give someone a Harry's product at Christmas, you also get that special holiday feeling for doing something good. So go right now to harrys.com and get $5 off a Winter Winston set with the code ConnectedHoliday. Don't forget, this special holiday offer is available to all customers new and old. That's harrys.com and enter coupon code ConnectedHoliday at checkout. That's all one word, ConnectedHoliday. Make sure that you get in order and quickly get that order in fast to make sure you get it in before the holidays. That's Harry's, a shave good enough to gift. Thank you so much to harrys.com for supporting this show and all of Relay FM.
What are you getting me for Christmas, Mike?
A Twitter client.
Really?
Yeah, I've been developing Teachy Tweet for a few months now. I'm happy to say that Swift? I really like it. I am using
Which
Swift.
Language?
Yep, so it runs nice and fast for you. Yep.
That's really
you open
your summary of Swift. It runs nice and fast.
Runs nice and
fast.
Nice and fast. So hang on, before we talk about the real topic, if there was a Teachy Twitter app, I think that you would open the app and it's a grid and there's a picture of pasta, there's a picture of espresso, there's a picture of an iPad, and then there's a picture of a question mark. And you tap the buttons and a tweet goes out. It's pre-populated. A tweet goes out about one of those items. So if you hit the iPad, something about working on the iPad, pasta, or espresso. But if you hit the question mark, it searches Giphy at randomly pulling from the dictionary and posts that. And I frankly think that podcasting is over and we should develop this app full time.
Yeah, I don't know why
So-
we're still waiting around here.
That sounds
Yeah,
like the new tweet deck.
Yeah.
So many enterprise opportunities with that idea.
I know. I really think that we could go to Apple and IBM and their new partnership and really just
Mhm.
do this.
No, I just want to imagine Mike making apps, like writing code and you know being upset that the stuff doesn't work.
Oh, I've made apps before.
You made apps. What kind of apps have you made?
So many apps.
Oh,
Mike,
yeah?
you break Markdown like once a week. That's not going to go well for you.
You can start writing my show notes.
I love you.
Thank you.
So,
So,
Federico,
Federico wrote a thing. He wrote his review, like
all of the words.
another magnum opus, which I have read. I've read the entire thing. It took me 4
It's
days.
true.
Luckily, Federico was. I think he knew that I wouldn't read it in time for the show unless he gave it to me in advance, and he did. And I've been
Yes.
reading it over a few days,
Mike has been reading for a few days now,
and I'm happy to say that I like it. And I have
Thanks.
lots of questions and thoughts.
you have a follow up.
Yeah. So Federico, rather
Mm-hmm.
than like, so I think what would be nice. This, you can tell me if you don't think this will be nice, but what I think will be nice is if you give people a very brief overview and tell them why they should read the article, and then I
Should-
will ask you my many questions.
Should I pitch my article? to
Pitch,
people?
give an elevator pitch for your
Mm-hmm.
article.
So there was no comparison as objective as possible of popular Twitter clients in 2014. So I did one. That's my pitch.
It's good.
Focusing, I mean, and this is something that people don't do, I think, even when they're doing these heavy comparisons, even like in the past, is really look at and properly use the first-party client as well. I think that's the key for you,
Yeah.
is that you've
Yeah,
gone
because
and looked at that.
especially after years of third-party clients, you know, we're talking 3 years and more of Tweetbot, almost exclusively. Switching to the Twitter app for iOS, which I ignored since 2011, it was really quite a challenge for me because I know that it's just a Twitter app and I know that it doesn't change the world, it doesn't make the world a better place, whatever. But still in this software niche that we have, using and switching to this kind of app, I really struggled in the first few weeks. And also when iOS 8 came out, I was kind of, I want to switch back to Tweetbot and Twitterific because they have all these features with iOS 8. So it really took some dedication for me, not just the writing part or the research and for the article, but really just making sure that I could, stick to my mission in a way. It was really challenging for me. I use Twitter more than the Messages app on a daily basis. It's like the app that I use the most. So switching, it's like when you change your house, you know, it's like everything's different. Oh my God, what am I doing here? That was the effect that I had for the past few months.
So I would like to go now and ask you and make my thoughts about your articles, my think piece.
Your posits.
My posits. So
Mm-hmm.
I think as a whole, like especially if you're going at like 20,000, is it 20,000 words, right?
Yeah,
Was-
20,081. That's what Brett Terpstra's marked says.
Very detailed. I can see how it took you as long as it did, and I can see why it took as long as it did, because you have done an incredible amount of research, and I think that the piece is only good because you did that. Like if it wouldn't have been this detailed, it wouldn't have been as good. Like it's the credit of the piece lies in the research that you did. I think that's clear.
Thank you. I think that also if I didn't spend so much time, I wouldn't have had the conclusion, you know,
Yeah.
because it's the detail, it's the knowing all the different parts that formed my opinion. That's really the most important consequence, I think.
Fundamentally, I came away from this wanting to try out the Twitter app more. Like, through reading what you have said and the way that you've approached things and the benefits that you are taking out of the client itself, and I want to touch on a few of those in a moment. I can see why you're doing it, and also, like, this is where Twitter is going, and I can't stop it. Like, that was a kind of like a feeling that I had from you whilst reading this. It was like, well, I'm on this train, and there's nothing I can do to change it, so I may as well like get on board and just stick with it, because Twitter's going this way, and you've been saying this for weeks on the show. Twitter is going this way, whether you like it or not. You just have to do it. And here, it's reading your detail and looking at the way that you've structured things, I can see how you have come to that conclusion. And I think I needed to read this to see that, as opposed to on previous weeks.
So you're saying it's like some kind of a Stockholm syndrome.
That wasn't what I was saying, but yeah, I guess it maybe is like that a little bit. I think that
maybe there's an aspect to that of I may as well get used to it now rather than later. That was at least my original feeling. Yeah, I agree.
I think though that the main reason why I've not yet started using the Twitter app on a daily basis since reading your piece is the timeline sync and the gap detection, because it sounds horrific in the way that you describe it, and I don't know how you deal with it. And you kind of, the way that you pitch it in the piece was like, it takes me time every day to go back and look for the tweets, but that doesn't feel like enough to me. How do you deal with this every day without pulling your hair out? Because I've used Twitter clients like where it's been like that. Like Twitterific is not great at this, and when I used Twitterific for a while, when I wasn't using Tweetbot, I think with iOS 8, it drove me a little bit crazy.
So I saw this question coming. So yeah, I do spend at least a couple of minutes every morning, especially trying to find my position again. And what I found is that, like when I'm scrolling back, so basically my scrolling of the timeline has become non-linear. So while I'm scrolling back, I find stuff and I follow that stuff immediately without waiting to reach the bottom and then going up again. Does it make any sense? So basically, I'm going all sorts of places. So
you're reading in two directions now. You're reading down and back up again.
Yeah, basically, I go down, okay? But if I found something, I just follow it right away, you know? So yeah, I guess it's just I'm all over the place. I don't know. It takes me like a couple of minutes, and now that I figured out this new way to load the timeline gap, you need to be close to the top of the screen. It only takes a couple of seconds. You gotta just tap a couple of times. The problem is when the app, for some reason, just completely restarts without restoring your state. And just it completely loses the timeline from the night before.
Is that random?
That appears to be random. I don't know if it's a RAM issue. I mean, on the iPad Air 2, I was guessing that there could be enough memory. It doesn't seem to be the case. I don't know why Twitter is doing this. So yeah, I think my probably because I was forced to, my behavior in scrolling back to my last position has changed, but it's not so bad. I mean, I'm getting stuff done anyway. I'm talking to people and discovering links anyway. So those couple of minutes maybe will add up over time. So far, I mean, it's been 6 months, so I think I have enough data about me, I guess, to see like what the actual consequence. It's not terrible after all.
So in the article, you kind of you go into why you think it's not important to them. Like Twitter wants you at the top because they want to know what you they want you to know what's happening now, not what happened 12 hours ago. So do you think that they're never going to change this then?
I don't know, because on the one hand they do this kind of let's make sure you always see new tweets stuff. And then they launched this new search that lets you find any tweet from and at any point during Twitter's history. So they kind of seem to be improving in two different places. They want to let you see new stuff, but they also want to let you find old stuff. So maybe there's a big picture here. It's just so big of a company and so big of an app that it's difficult to just right now. I'm receiving tweets from a few people who are seeing new features in the Twitter app today. In the timeline, so it's a constantly evolving. That was a big problem for me. Twitter, because they're doing sort of like Facebook. They release updates. They don't do the major update thing on the App Store, but they don't exactly mention details in the release notes. So sometimes you see the big feature mentioned, like you see we added a new profile design, but other times you only see bug fixes or improvements. And then you get all these new features out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So today they seem to be adding some new card integration with the timeline, adding buttons directly into tweets without having to open them. So yeah, it was difficult, Mike, to like, why are they trying to get me to the top, and then why are they trying to let me find old stuff? I don't know. I guess it's just a little bit of both.
Yeah, well, I think that app evolution has a lot to do with what we spoke about, Twitter the platform versus Twitter the app. And I don't want to rehash all that, but clearly that there's some vast majority of people that they interact with Twitter only through the app. I mean, they might go to the web, but I would imagine for a lot of people, Twitter is that blue app icon on their phone, and that's all there is, and that's what Twitter is. Whatever's behind that icon. And so for them to change that sort of thing, it's changing the very way that Twitter works for a lot of people. And from the outside, it seems like, I jump into the Twitter app every couple of months just kind of see where it is, and it feels like it's crazy town. Like I'll look at it, and 3 months later things be pretty different. And I think that iteration, they're trying to get it where they think it should be, but it's definitely much faster than something like Tweetbot or Twitterific that's stuck sort of in legacy Twitter land.
I think going back as well, like about the differences in Twitter's timeline, and they're not putting things in the release notes, because they do that thing where certain users get certain features and other users don't, right? They do that testing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they don't, unless they're definite about something, they probably don't say about it, which is probably why Federico, you're getting people contact you who may actually have a slightly different Twitter experience to you anyway, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I didn't consider that. I don't seem to ever get this timeline and various experiments. I think I have a pretty traditional version of Twitter for iOS.
It's probably good you don't. Do you so I'm going to assume that you think, or at least that will be the case, is that they're never going to change the timeline syncing. But I think that surely the more I look through my timeline, the more ads I'm going to see, right? Is that not a benefit to them? Like if I'm scrolling through the entire last 12 hours, they can show me more ads.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but also if you want to scroll back manually, you're just going to scroll anyway and see the ads. I don't know. It's strange because it seems like one of those features that an iOS engineer would love, to build and to have, just for the sake of the challenge, being able to sync Twitter across clients.
Because they do some of it, right? Like DM.
They do DM. They do what else? Contacts that you block now, of course, those are synced to your account, and they have a new page on the web with a list of all accounts that you blocked, and they're doing I don't know, I guess some Mac stuff as well. I don't know if the state of the Mac app. I'm not sure what improvements there have been on the Mac, because I didn't check that out. They do some sort of syncing, just not big stuff like the timeline.
So the suggested follower list I always thought was stupid. Like what I see on the web, it's always like 3 celebrities. It's pointless. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned it was useful, so I went on the app and I found some really interesting people there.
Yeah.
And I think it's because the list is longer, so there's more chance for them to actually be relevant. Because the list in the app, it's it seems to be endless.
What's really cool is when you follow someone in Twitter for iOS, and I noticed this in Twitter for iPhone. When you follow someone new, there's like an animation that looks like the old iOS 6 folder animation on the home screen. There's a box that opens in the app, and it gives you more people similar to the one that you just followed. Like the other day, I finally followed Kyle, a friend of the show.
Kyle's the Grey.
Yeah.
Did they show
I
you
don't know why I
Gandalf
wasn't
or
following.
something? Like
No,
other
he showed
wizards?
me. I'm pretty sure he showed me. He showed me. My memory is going. It's not good. as it
Somebody
used
else
to
you're
be.
not following, basically.
You're so old.
Yeah, it's like people similar to Kyle. Those kinds of people.
Is there anybody similar to Kyle?
Wow.
There's
a
like
lot
there's
of
like
fake
there's a
accounts.
group of people. There's like a club of people like Kyle. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a really nice. The suggestions are. You're right, Mike. They're pretty nice. They got better for sure as suggestions.
So, with the timeline stuff and just some of the other things that you mentioned, I think that I need to start thinking differently about how I use Twitter, maybe. Maybe I shouldn't be a completionist. So if I focus on reading everything, then that makes it more difficult for me. Maybe Twitter don't want me to do it this way. Maybe I need to start getting used to not doing that. Otherwise, I might, they're going to upset me later. Do you feel this way? Like you should try and just change what you see, like maybe not to be a completionist anymore.
I'm just trying to go with the flow.
Yeah. Okay.
It's used because it's one of those features. The other stuff that I get is more important than fighting or than being upset for the stuff that I'm not getting. So the compromise is not worthy for me anymore. So unfortunately, because I love the feature and because it would save me those couple of minutes every day, timeline syncing, has to go because I need the other stuff. So yeah.
So something that I'm interested to see if I'm calling you out on this one or not, but I think I might be. So in the article, you talk about using Twitterific on your iPad a lot. Like a lot more than I expected. You kind of say that you read your lists there. You use it for extensions. So obviously, when you find links, you're sharing. How much are you actually using the official app?
No, that's a very simple reason. It's just because I had all the different apps installed on my devices. On my second screen, I had all the Tweetbot and Twitterific. So I needed to keep the apps installed and I needed to use them. So of course I was using Twitterific more because of all the stuff that it had. But I already set up a shortcut in Launch Center Pro to make up for the lack of a share sheet in the Twitter app. So yeah, now I'm just basically gonna uninstall the apps that I was keeping for the article, and I'm gonna just use the Twitter app because I have this shortcut in Launch Center Pro, and I will soon have other shortcuts with a workflow app, which is coming out this week. So,
So will you share those? I assume you're going to write those up.
Yeah.
Okay. So people should look out for that. Where can they find this amazing writing?
My macstories.net.
Perfect.
Which is it happens to be my website. So
Federico, I have more questions for you.
Okay.
But I want to take a quick break first to thank
Cool.
our third sponsor for this week, and that is Iconic. Let me tell you about this very cool coffee table book. It's all about Apple. The background is that back in 2009, a guy named Jonathan Zufi collected and photographed pretty much every single Apple product ever made and produced this stunning coffee table book. It's called Iconic, a photographic tribute to Apple innovation. If there was ever a perfect gift for the Apple fan, this is it. 350 beautifully designed pages and hundreds of fantastic photos, basically of every product Apple has ever put out. Every desktop, laptop, iDevice, printer, even the old gaming devices. It's all in here, and I guarantee you're going to see some products that maybe you didn't even know Apple had made. There's an amazing chapter about prototypes, and there's even a chapter about packaging. All of the boxes that came with this amazing technology are in this book. Now, Stephen, I understand that you own and are a fan of this lovely book called Iconic.
I am, and it's self-proclaimed Apple historian. There's stuff in there that was sort of vaguely known even to me. What's impressive is the depth of this thing, that there's some crazy stuff in here that, I'd only heard about or never seen photos of. And it's really a great gift for anyone who is into that sort of thing.
Has it helped you create your list of Macs that you want to purchase?
Just all of them, really?
I assume that your copy has just got lots of check marks on it as you go in. I bought that one now.
No, it's too perfect to write in.
Iconic includes a foreword by Steve Wozniak and hundreds of amazing quotes from other Apple pundits. This book comes in a few different versions, including a version in a bookcase that looks like an old Apple floppy drive, and as we discovered last week, include over the Ultimate Edition that ships in a white clamshell with an embedded glowing standby light that pulses just like the old sleep indicators on the MacBook Pros. It's really something that you should see. So go visit iconicbook.com and take a look right now. You can order the Classic Edition at Amazon, but if you decide you want the Classic Plus, Special, or Ultimate Edition, enter the code CONNECTED when you check out for a 10% discount. That's iconicbook.com and promo code CONNECTED. Okie dokie. The Discover tab.
Mm-hmm.
So the Discover tab is interesting to me because there's always new stuff in there to find.
Yeah.
Right? So this was something that I didn't really know. Like, you just keep refreshing it and it just keeps populating.
Yeah.
It will just
that
keep going.
It was really strange initially. I was upset because I was like, I want to reach the top of this section. There is no top. You can always get new stuff.
I guess this is what Twitter's going for, right? Because it means that you always have a reason to be in the app because you keep finding stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm concerned I would get lost forever.
Well, after a while, it is the same set of suggestions, just in different order. Like if you keep refreshing 12 times, you're not gonna get new suggestions. It's going to be basically a remix of the ones that you saw. It's just the concept that there's no stopping to the refresh. Right.
What that tells me, though, is that you did get lost in it one day, and you found that out.
Yeah, because I
Came
needed to
stumbling
understand.
home.
Yeah. It's those are actually pretty good. It's a good mix of at least for me, because they say those are tailored suggestions. It's a good mix of like I find video game stuff, a lot of funny Twitter jokes because. I like Twitter for the jokes as well. Video games, Apple stuff, of course. And I mentioned this in the article. I get stuff about football and American sports, and sometimes like sci-fi TV shows, stuff that I'm not interested into. I can see why Twitter wants me to care about that stuff, because hashtags and people talking about TV shows in real time. But overall, it is a pretty good set of suggestions. I started making sure that at least twice a day I open the section, because I generally find maybe a link post for Mac Stories, or maybe a link for the Mac Stories Weekly newsletter. So yeah, it is useful. Was a nice surprise.
So I have been thinking about Twitter a lot because we keep talking about it. So much so that I pressured Casey into talking about it on Analog this week. And one of the things that we were talking about is like following and unfollowing, and kind of like the social implications that come with that. Mm-hmm. And there was just a quote in your article that I really liked, which is a much healthier outlook than my solution of permanently muting people. I've realized that of all the things one could feel bad for in this world, unfollowing someone on Twitter shouldn't be one of them for me.
Yeah. I mean,
like
it's
that.
just I don't want to overthink my social networks. It's not like I'm unfollowing my mother. I mean, we are all in this space, in this social web space, because we are interested into the links or the tweets that other people publish, and it is not personal. Most of the time, it is not personal. At least for me, I like my real friends. I either talk to them privately on iMessage, or I have them on Facebook. Twitter it's for me, like I state many times in the article, it's an information network. I am there because I want to find stuff, and I'm guessing that I am there because the people who follow me want stuff like links and news and the stuff that I write. Like it's purely based on utility for
Right.
me.
Yeah.
So it's not really like I'm not upset at you. I'm not mad. It's not personally if I unfollow you. I don't want to say we're not friends. That's really not the point. It's about following and being followed. Like it's right there in the Twitter app. If you want to have friendships, you go to Facebook or you talk to people on Snapchat, whatever.
I think in the article, maybe the app that you were most critical on from a design perspective was Twitterific, because I think it does things different to the other apps, like in some pretty severe ways. And I have a theory about Twitterific and some of the decisions that they make, and I think a lot of Twitterific's foibles and some of the interesting choices that they make fall down to their insistence on the unified timeline. So having your tweets, your mentions, and your DMs all in one view if you want, because like this, I think what it does is it makes them do things fundamentally different, and it can in some instances seem like it breaks the app to people that are used to things in a certain way. Like you really pull apart and do a good job of explaining the interesting and kind of strange way they deal with DMs. So they're not in a threaded conversation, right? They're kind of just like regular tweets, but in a different view.
Yeah.
So the way that you reply, the UI that you see when you reply to a mention is the same as when you reply to a tweet. Like you only see the previous one in the history, and it kind of feels strange to me. And I know that I used to have quite a lot of DM fails when I used Twitterific on iOS, and I think that they do this because they kind of have to pull. I mean, this is very layman, and I'm sure like anybody that works at Twitterific can just tell me I'm flat out wrong, and I would love the feedback if you do. It feels like that they have to kind of load, then they do load like 3 timelines at once, as opposed to one timeline, because they're loading a timeline for the main tweets, mentions, and DMs. Because as well, their gap detection isn't good. They don't pull in as many tweets when you do a refresh of a gap as well. Have you found that, Federico?
Yeah, that's been the case generally. Yeah.
And it feels like that potentially that it is the unified timeline that holds them back. However, it is a clear defining feature, and they actually have users because of that feature, like John Siracusa and Jason Snell. They love it because,
it seems like sometimes they design features just for the sake of keeping the concept of the unified timeline. And for messages, the big problem for me is that today, every major communication service is using the style and the layout of the threaded conversation view that popularized, I guess, by the Apple Messages app or by IRC chats in a slightly different way. That's the idea, right? It's new messages at the bottom, and there's a compose field, and when you type, you see the stream of messages above. That's the basic idea. And by doing away with that concept, it kind of complicates everything. Because by default, you see the stream of conversations, but you can also show an entire conversation. However, you cannot reply into that conversation. It's kind of like they want to mix and match 2 different systems, and it kind of doesn't work in neither of those.
My last points are... Well, it's about the blue line and what you call external tweets. I'll explain that in a moment. Anybody that hasn't read it. Although I hope that kind of people have read your article at this point, but it is quite big, so maybe they haven't finished it yet. On principle, I would have shunned these ideas, and I have done, especially the blue line, right? Just be like, I have no interest in you. Leave me alone. Never come back. It's just so dumb. What are you doing?
I feel that way.
But when I read what you were saying, again, it's like, I don't know. Do you work for Twitter, by the way? I just want to double check. Like, you don't work for them, right?
No.
Okay, cool.
I really don't.
I just wanted to double check. Because you seem to do a better job explaining them than them. So I've never been sure about it, especially the blue line, right? Moving my tweets around, what's wrong with you? Show me them in chronological order. Especially when you say it can be a bit weird sometimes because you see like the same tweet like 5 times and you're just scrolling through the same list. But the idea of seeing things in context Makes more sense. It's like sometimes I try and read most of my tweets, but I don't read every tweet. And sometimes I see somebody reply to something, and then I have to swipe into the view to see what they're replying to.
Yeah, but that's not. It's not like it's out of your way to swipe over in Tweetbot to see that.
No,
it's
no, because I'm used to it. But in a way,
Maybe, yeah.
I can see how it's nicer to just have it there. I can see how that's possible to be a good thing.
It's just, I mean, like I said a couple weeks ago, like it's confusing, and even reading your article, it seems inconsistent at times. Like I don't always clearly know why this conversation got a blue line, but another conversation that appears similar didn't. And maybe they just need to tighten that down, or maybe it's, apps not like replying into the thread correctly with the way the URLs work or something. But in its current state, it feels a little bit broken and sort of frustrating because it doesn't always do the same thing. Is that fair?
That's one of the big issues with, not just with the blue line, with other features too, is that they seem to be testing them rather than be sure that they want to use them. If that makes any sense. Basically, they're really inconsistent sometimes with features and the design ideas. Maybe there's a motivation behind the fact that sometimes you get the blue line, other times you don't. If there is one, it's hard to find it. I kind of see why the blue line makes sense for. I really don't want to say casual users, but I'm gonna say users who are not experts of Twitter clients, because for us, I know I can swipe on Tweetbot, I know I can use this gesture, or I know I can use this shortcut to make sure I view this tweet in a particular mode with a particular view. But for people who don't write about Twitter clients for a living, it is kind of difficult, to find a correlation between a new tweet and an old conversation, and also for people who come from Facebook. People are used to comments and the original posts above the comment. Being able to see both at the same time starts to make sense after you accept the fact that Twitter, the official app, is not as precise or as schematic as Tweetbot or Twitterific, because those apps, they have a set of design rules and they always follow them. The Twitter app is more like a cauldron of ideas, and you just gotta accept it, man. Because if you try to find, it's like the App Store guidelines. Just don't try to find every single rule for every single case.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
That's a terrible example.
Yeah, I know. It's just, you just gotta accept it. You just gotta be like whatever, it's just there.
Yeah. So maybe we can close out here. Are there things in the Twitter app or in sort of like Twitter's idea of itself that you think are problematic, or things that you think they will back away from? Or do you feel, looking at all these things, that Twitter is sure of itself and is marching in a direction with a clearly defined vision?
Yeah, there is one. And that is the external tweets, like the tweets that don't come from people you follow, but come from activity of the people you follow. So let's say that Mike follows, I don't know, Scott Forstall. And let's say that Scott Forstall tweets a lot of stuff. He doesn't. That's sad. But let's say that he does. And I don't follow the guy, but Mike does. So on occasion, I see tweets from Scott because Mike either because Mike favorites his tweets, or just because Mike follows Scott. So it's activity from people you follow, from the tweets that they see, the tweets that they mark as favorite. And I think that can potentially be a problem, only because I realized, I was thinking, okay, maybe people don't care about this sort of feature. Maybe it's it's one of those things that we Tweetbot and Twitterific users, we hate, but maybe normal people don't. But a couple of weeks ago, I know this is a silly example, but I saw the Zach Braff the Scraps guy, the actor, very popular on Twitter, he tweeted. Now I'm just assuming that Zach Braff doesn't blog about apps normally. So I saw Zach Braff tweeting, "What's up with the tweets in my Twitter timeline?" So if normal people, I'm assuming that Zach Braff is not a normal person because he's a celebrity, but it's just from a tech reviewer point of view, he's a normal, right? So if someone like Zach Braff can see what's up, like can see that there's something strange, maybe if Twitter overdoes, that kind of policy of showing tweets from other sources, people can get upset, and they need to go easy with that. I think, like, it's cool if you show me, like, in my experience, I always see this kind of tweets at night when my timeline is really slow. So Twitter gives me suggestions, and that's cool. I don't want to see 20 external tweets, as I call them. I don't want to see 20 external tweets during an Apple event, for example.
Which is back to Mike's point, is they want to keep you in the app. They want to keep you in their advertising platform.
Yeah, that was a general feeling that I got. They want to keep you engaged at all times.
Cool.
Federico, I enjoyed it very much. I think people need to go to Mac Stories, and they can read it at macstories.net, and you will be able to find Teacher's fantastic post there. You can go to our show notes, which are at, I will do it this time, relay.fm/connected/17. You will find the links to everything that we want, that we wanted to show you, and you'll find everything you want to read, including a tweet from Zach Braff. If that's what you're into, you'll find that too. If you want to find us online, there's a few ways you can do that. I am at imyke, IMYKE on Twitter, and I am a podcaster at relay.fm, of course. You should know this by now. Stephen is at ISMH on Twitter, and he writes at 512pixels.net. And Federico, of course, is at macstories.net, and he is at Vitici on Twitter, VITICCI. If you enjoy the show, please consider rating it in iTunes. We never ask you to do that. It would be nice if you did. I would like it anyway. We have a store.relay.fm, if you'd like to pick up stickers, t-shirts. It's a great way to do it. Helps support the show. Talking about supporting the show, thanks to our sponsors this week, the great people at Bajango, Harry's, and Iconic. We'll be back next time with another episode of your favorite podcast, which is also called Connected. I think we can probably at least win that one. Say goodbye, everybody.
Arrivederci.
Adios.